Evening, magical boy. Hey, what's up? Where's Matt today? Not here. Why the Bible? How do I know it's not just some over-exuberant bedtime story? Like, even if I wanted to, there's nothing behind it scientifically. Why should I believe it? Why should I accept this as the truth? If you can show me it being true, I'll convert today. But you can't. You'll fail miserably. Okay, got you. Why do you have an umbrella indoors? Where is your evidence, you turd? It's for many reasons. To mention one is the Archaeology. Friendly writers and hostile writers mention that the Jesus Seminar, who are PhD level atheists and agnostics, who have no reason to support Christianity, who study Christ and the Bible, concluded that Jesus really lived in Judea 2,000 years ago and was known as a miracle worker, died on the cross under Pilate, and that his disciples really believed they had seen him risen from the dead. So the fact that there are contradictions between manuscripts is often cited as proof against trusting scripture, right? When actually it does the opposite. Oh, really now? How's that? The fact that there are so many manuscripts makes it easy to tell when someone changed one. Modern Bibles are transparent about any differences in the footnotes. Your very popular atheist friend, Alexo'Connor, even realized this. Take a look. I guess I'll have a look.
The Bible contradicts itself. It's full of contradictions. And there are some seeming contradictions. What a lot of people neglect to consider is that when we're talking about a text as a historical document, contradictions shouldn't make us think that it's less accurate, but more accurate. If historical sources contradict each other, that's evidence of their accuracy rather than evidence of the opposite. If this is a mythical story that somebody's making up, you would expect the details to concur. That is, if you're questioning two suspects in some kind of murder trial or something, and their stories match up perfectly, it arouses suspicion. Someone's coming up with a story here and trying to perfect it. Now, people have this idea that a bunch of people got together and tried to fool the world into this sort of mythical story of this man rising from the dead. Do you think they would have made the mistake of just including these blatant contradictions? In other words, I think if somebody was making it up, they probably would have taken more care.
That's an interesting perspective. I've never thought of it this way. So we can see the contradictions where things went wrong and we can trace it back to the original source then? And historians view the Bible as historical document? Really? Are you sure? Yeah, they do. They just don't believe it's divine, but it's a fact we have now. We have the Dead Sea Scrolls and carbon dating to verify. I told you this. Over 5,000 manuscripts in the original Greek and 20,000 in other languages. None of those differences found between manuscripts change anything about any core doctrines of Christianity. They are mainly handwriting error on a letter or a different way to word something that means the exact same thing. There is a 99.5% accuracy between the manuscripts according to the scholars. There is also all the undersigned coincidence between not only the four Gospels, but the rest of the New and Old Testament too. Matthew chapter 2 verse 22 talks about Joseph not wanting to return to Judea after fleeing to Egypt because of Archelaus was ruling. That's all the info on that the Bible gives. Josephus, the Jewish historian, tells us about the things Archelaus did and how evil he was. Put these two pieces of evidence together, we get the full picture. This sort of thing happens through the text with the seemingly useless details matching up perfectly with extra biblical sources, leading to the credibility of the text. Well, I would say that my friend multimillionaire commented, every historical account we have to support the historicity of Jesus or his disciples are second and third hand information that was recorded decades after the alleged events happened. That's how it is with Josephus and Tacitus. Eusebius is another one Christians like to cite, but this guy admitted that he's okay with lying for the sake of Christianity, so none of his accounts can be taken seriously either. The Gospels were still written by anonymous authors, so you would have to have faith that the accounts are truthful, which cannot at all be confirmed. That's simply not true. Maybe you didn't know, but Luke in the Bible is considered a real historian. He is recognized by the greater academic community, bro. See? Let me see. What the f? And even atheist historians agree the Bible is indeed part of history. They use it to reference archaeology. That all may be true, but it still doesn't prove your sky daddy God raised from the dead. Nikki, under your comments, had a marvelous point. Did the disciples see undeniable proof? Is there undeniable evidence to support that? One, for example, could have hallucinated or mistaken someone for a risen Jesus, and the others could have been convinced or urged to see similar things happen. To be more open to interpret things as being Jesus. And people might have misheard someone at some point, or the story changed over time as people told it to each other and may have forgotten some minor details, and may have interpreted the stories as being something they're not because of their beliefs. So the historical agreement is that it is impossible for so many people to have so many livid hallucinations to explain the conviction of the disciples and early Christians. It's a funny and goofy hypothesis, but not even intellectually honest atheists take it into account. The apostles' willingness to be killed, not for saying they believed Jesus had risen, but they knew he had risen, because the proof was they saw him. If the tomb wasn't empty, they would have paraded the body around to stomp out any idea of Jesus being resurrected. But Christianity spread because the event that historically happened, not just because a book told you so. There was no body in the tomb. If someone stole the body, why were nearly all the apostles willing to be killed for saying they seen Jesus risen? They were thousands of miles away from one another before phones and the internet, and were being threatened, tortured, and murdered for the claim. Not one broke and said it was a lie to save themselves. Alex even spoke on this as well. Look at this. Let me see.
How do we explain the fact that this man gets crucified by the Romans, and then people claim to see him after he died, and were willing to be put to death for that belief?
Good heavens.
Now, okay, maybe he didn't die. Unlikely. As they say, the Romans knew how to kill people. And supposedly, they check. Okay, so likelihood is that he was actually crucified. And then a few days later, people are claiming to see him. Maybe they're lying, but then you don't tend to go to death for something you know to be a lie. You're willing to be put to death for things that you think are true, that are false. But very rarely are people willing to die for beliefs that they don't actually believe themselves. That doesn't really happen. So they probably weren't lying. As maybe they were mistaken.
Fooled.
Or maybe they were hallucinating. In groups?
So we have the writing of the disciples of the apostles and the disciples of those disciples. And they not only quote much of the New Testament, but all the core idea of Christianity are present. Jesus being God, the Son of God, dying for sins, burial, resurrection, and ascension to heaven. It's because of the evidence that I believe in Jesus, on top of the spiritual encounters I had and still have today. So the Bible is historical. Yes, bro. So now when you go and read the Bible, read the Gospels for yourself. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John as a historical document, and you'll see the credibility full circle. But I'm about to go hop on Street Fighter. But wait, you need to go think about everything we just talked about for now.